Welcome, good morning everyone, to Malibu, 27 miles of coastal cool. Great audience this morning. Seldom do I have to share the stage with surfboards. Who do we credit for this?
That would be me.
Okay, that's Michael, one of our speakers this morning. Well, good morning. A couple of housekeeping items, very, very briefly. Phones, if you turn those off, we would all be grateful. And if you wouldn't text, we'd even be more grateful. Thank you. Parking, if you park at the Pacific Design Center and you have one of the tickets from the machine, when you exit, please say that you were at the John Arrow Architectural Lecture. You have an automatic $10 charge, or even better, if you go to the restaurant, they'll allocate your ticket and you'll pay even less. For those in my office, architectural agents, if you got my email from Los Angeles Magazine, where are Michael and Jean? They really turn the lights off. Well, Michael and Jean are here. They're going to be visiting with you after the program. So, oh, there they are right there. Okay. That's if you're an architectural agent and you receive my email on Friday. October, the Arrow Architectural Program, we have a little bit of departure. We will actually be on site. It's a field trip. It's only for John Arrow Group agents. It will be the debut of a showcase house in Santa Monica that will be debuting in October. We get an advanced tour, an architectural historian will guide us through, and it's going to be a big event for us. So, unfortunately, just for agents for October. In November, we can right back up here in this room. And we did last too soon. There's John, Josh, and John. Where are you? Okay, you have to stand up. You'll like these guys. Right there. Who's the fourth one? Chris? Anyway, welcome guys. These guys are from DSI Entertainment Systems and the Crestron Showroom. They are your hosts for lunch immediately following today's lecture. So that's why they're really special guys. Typically, we don't do questions and answers, especially today we won't. Our speakers are going to be in the showroom so that you can visit with them. The Crestron Showroom, you've already walked by it. It's outside the door to the lobby. Take 50 steps and turn left. You're right there. So thank you very much. Very nice to do that for us. And is Michelle here? Okay. Michelle's the manager. As I said earlier, welcome to Malibu, 27 miles of coastal cool. And welcome to our first duo presenters in the history of Arrow Architectural, now celebrating its second year. Doug Burdge of Burdge & Associates Architects, give us a wave down here. He's created, you know this, but it's extraordinary, over 100 estates of all styles, from classic to modern, in the coveted enclave known as Malibu. He's a graduate of USC's School of Architecture. His award-winning work has been included in Architectural Digest, the Wall Street Journal, Veranda, Traditional Home, the Robb Report, and countless other publications and television shows. When a home by Burdge is listed for sale, his name is often included in the description because the selling price will be positively affected. Doug's partner in crime this morning, give a wave, Michael. Michael is with Doug as a builder and collaborator. Michael is the president of Owl Partners Incorporated, a general contracting firm located in Malibu, of course. He and Doug recently collaborated, designed, and built Birdview, which you'll see this morning, and you will probably recognize as it's had extraordinary publicity. Michael is a former film producer, The Usual Suspects, and because of his background, just for our program this morning, he has created a fascinating analogy between the similarities of home building and filmmaking, and when you see it, you'll be mesmerized. The two really do go hand in hand. So you're in for an exciting visual journey and treat. The moment that Michael and Doug are finished, as I just said, just proceed to the Crestron Showroom for lunch, and the moment you're waiting for, please help me welcome Doug Burdge. Yes.
Brett, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction.
Am I mic on too?
Yeah.
You're live.
All right, people have been coming to Malibu for a long, long time. On the Channel Islands, off our coast, archaeologists discovered human bones that were well over 10,000 years old. We have no idea who these people were, how they got there, or what happened to them. The Spanish explorer Juan Cabrillo sailed up the coast 500 years ago and anchored off the mouth of Malibu Creek. He found a Chumash settlement, and he called it Malibu, which means where the surf sounds loudly. He claimed it for the King of Spain. 200 years later, Friar Crespi, with the Portola expedition, actually described the native architecture. The house is well constructed, round like an oven, spacious and fairly comfortable, like and there's a hole in the roof.
Is this fire department approved?
I don't think so. That reminds me, it's my work at college.
The Chumash fought to protect their land and their way of life, but before long, the missionaries had eradicated them. And for the next 200 years, a succession of Europeans fought over Malibu. And at the beginning of the 20th century, a millionaire from Boston named Frederick Rinn bought all of Malibu from Topanga to Oxnard. He died at the ripe old age of 48, and then his wife, May, took over the family business after that. And she may not look like it, but she was a tough old broad. She started fighting the battle at that time against private, state, and federal interests that wanted to build a public road and a railroad straight through her land. This is what it looked like when they still had it. That was their own private road, and they actually built a private railroad to keep the federal government, Pacific Railroad, from building their own railroad through there.
To raise money and finance their legal battles against the government, she founded the Malibu Potteries, which employed over 100 people and produced extraordinary ceramic tiles that were sold throughout the world. These tiles actually are very rare, and they are sometimes found today. They cost over $100 a piece, and you can still, there's 2 or 3 potteries out there that actually make these stellar replications of these. So very popular, it's very much local to the Malibu area. Another way she raised money is leasing beachfront land to movie stars, such as beautiful Clara Bow.
And check out Clara. Look at the logo on her board and look at her shoes.
And Errol Lloyd, and Dolores Del Rio, and Gloria Swanson. Well, I guess that's her dog driving the boat. My dog didn't do that well, but it's close. This became the Malibu movie colony. She actually started it, and it's exclusive back in the 20s as it is today. To protect her land and her Malibu way of life, May fought all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court before finally losing out to the immutable forces of progress.
And those are the forces of progress there. That was opening day, once the private Malibu ranch was, the road was completed and it was open to the public. Everybody wanted to get in and have a look to see what was in there. Movie star Ronald Colman brought the renowned Hawaiian Duke Kahanamoku, that's young Duke on the left and old Duke on the far right, with another famous surfer named Tom Blake, to Malibu in 1927, and Duke brought along some surfboards. And generations of legendary surfers, from Mickey Dora, upper right, to Laird Hamilton on the left, to Kelly Slater, smacking the lip on that wave, have ridden the perfectly formed waves of Surfrider Beach. Mickey ruled Surfrider Beach in the 50s, late 50s, and the 60s. Laird pretty much rules Little Doom now on that stand-up board, and Kelly Slater rules the world as far as surfing goes. But the person who made the name Malibu world famous wasn't actually a real surfer. It was a girl. That's her on the left, a girl named Kathy Conard. She was short. So her nickname, because she was a girl and a midget, was Gidget. Sandra Dee, Annette Funicello, and Frankie Avalon, the Beach Boys, and Sally Field. Sally looking very cute. The Beach Boys, that was shot at Point Doom, that album cover there. Malibu became the epitome of the California dream, and everybody wanted in. And there's a picture of Kathy, the real Gidget, Kathy Conard, surrounded from Life magazine, surrounded by a bunch of Beach Boys, including the guy in the sunglasses, whose name was Tube Steak, who died 2 weeks ago. 25 years ago, the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors approved a plan to build a sewer line straight up PCH that would serve 400,000 people, and that's what 400,000 people looks like.
Wow.
To protect their land and their way of life, the people of then unincorporated Malibu successfully fought to incorporate as a city. And only 20 years ago, the city of Malibu was born. And instead of 400,000 people, the population is now only 13,000, and this is what 13,000 people looks like.
Versus 13,000.
Exactly.
Today, Malibu is everything from trailer parks, which sometimes range over $1 or $2 million. I don't know about the one on the left, it might be pretty expensive now. To $75 million homes, beachfront palaces. And, you know, the thing about Malibu is that you read about them and we've experienced them. We have our fires, which is Mother Nature. We have our mudslides, our earthquakes, too. But Michael and I traveled the world, and one place we both choose and raise our family is Malibu.
Now I'd like to tell you a little about Doug. I love this shot. There's Doug
Yeah.
and Doug's brother is in the audience as well. But, oopsies booey. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, this boat we took to Catalina. It's interesting, it says Port of Casino. Last time we checked, I don't think Casino is a port.
Doug was born in Encino in the late 50s. He grew up playing Little League baseball, honing his survivor skills as an Eagle Scout, and sommering and sailing on Catalina. Following in the footsteps of his architect uncle and cousin, who's also in the audience, Doug enrolled at USC, where he began his architectural journey. Following studies at Harvard University, Doug traveled from Europe to Asia to the Middle East, sketching the entire time. And Doug and his family, his wife Laura and twin sons, settled in Malibu around 20 years ago. Now here's a partial list of architects who have designed houses in Malibu. You might recognize some of these names. Frank Gehry, Ed Giddings, Ed Niles, Charles Gwathmey, Marshall Lewis, Ron Goldman, Richard Neutra, John Lautner, and Richard Meyer have all designed houses in Malibu. But no one has been more prolific than Doug Burdge. Doug's designed and built more Malibu homes than all of those other architects combined. Who better than to give you a tour of Malibu from one end to the other than Mr. Doug Burdge.
Thank you. So let's do our mobile tour of Malibu. Malibu is a really interesting place. Most people think of it as a north-south, like you're driving up the coast or to go to Ventura, which actually runs east and west. Malibu is 27 miles long, mostly 1 mile wide, except in the middle point 2. And it's interesting because the population of Malibu is hovering right around 13,000. That's the scale replica of Manhattan's would fit right on Malibu, and that is 1.3 million people. So it's interesting to compare the two. Malibu itself has got a main artery, which is the Pacific Coast Highway that runs up and down, east and west. And then what they're called, there's actually 2 main canyons to go through. There's Canyon Road, and then there's actually Malibu Canyon Road. And you're really anchoring at one end by Topanga, and then you continue up by county lines. So this is the eastern end, or the western end, excuse me. So it's an interesting phenomenon. Even like the traffic that we see in Malibu is called Z-traffic. You're going from the 101, cuts over one of the canyons, and then drives and goes to the west side. So it's just between everyone on PCH and the tourists and all the locals, it gets quite a busy place. Malibu itself is really encompassing, and you're really feeling like it's both nature and, you know, obviously you have a man-made, but it's really nature in itself that is why Malibu wanted to maintain itself as a city. If you start looking at this section, as we're going to go down the coast, we're going to start out, which is really this eastern end of Malibu. And if you were to go by iconic points, this is actually a photograph back in the 70s, and it's Topanga Canyon. You used to have homes in the front. The county back in the 70s decided to just on a taking, which they're pretty good at sometimes, they then told all those houses to be removed. So Topanga is actually here, and these homes are actually taken. If you continue up the coast, these types of homes are actually in very close proximity. Most of those homes are about $1 million, even in these times, and they're really the ones closest to town. They're about 5 feet away from each other, and their septic systems don't work too well. Actually, the one end of Malibu is an anchor. You could feel, say, the real end is another restaurant. As we go through our tour, they'll be finishing, which will be a little hungry by the time we get down there. We start out really on this end at the real end, and then we go west. Malibu fires in 1993. It took the entire neighborhood of La Costa. Costa is one of the top neighborhoods where you can actually get good views. Those homes right now range anywhere from $1 million to $3 million. Took us about, here's our old chimney, here's the house itself that was built beforehand, and then we go after this is the finished product. This is actually one of the first homes we introduced a lot of the influences we were working down in Cobblestone Lucas. So this is a great neighborhood. It's a great starter neighborhood. It's all built up now. All those homes, which they lost over 100 homes in that neighborhood, they're all back. As we continue up the coast, we get into the areas. This is the exclusive area of Carmen Beach. And then we have the canyon areas, which all go back. This is actually, let's see, it's Corral Canyon area. This is actually the Malibu Beach Inn, and this area is actually Carbon Beach. And Mike will tell you a little bit about that.
And on Carbon Beach, also known as Billionaire's Beach, this is David Gaggin's place. So David put these 4 lots together and had to go to the Coastal Commission for approval, and they said, yeah, you can do that, but you need to grant public access and give an easement to the public so they can find a beach in there. And he went ahead and built what he wanted. He blocked off the public access. And he fought for about 20 years before finally losing, actually. It was a David and Goliath battle. The billionaire against a small guy. And the small guy finally got this access way opened up right here. A couple of billionaire neighbors that David has are Paul Allen and Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison, interestingly, has bought a huge amount of property in the last year or more in Malibu. And he's just opened up the new Malibu Nobu a couple of weeks ago, which is doing gangbuster business.
Right. So as you continue up the coast a little bit, you get into areas. This is a home that we had finished with a developer client. This is on the market now for multi-million, large dollar values in the state. These have incredible views. They're also close to town, and it's a great area where you can build a big home and you can also have the tremendous views. As you continue up the coast, we're actually working with a number of developers now. They're actually, the spec home market is back. These are actually going to be $20+ million spec homes, so I guess that's not the average person that can buy. But they overlook the Malibu Pier. These are all on 20-acre parcels, and this developer is really excited about this project. And so are we. As we continue up the coast, we have more of the central area of Malibu, which you would be more interested in know that this is the area where the Malibu Pier is, so just by iconic relationship. And then if you look at it from an aerial perspective,
Like that?
I just like that. You have then the Malibu Pier. This is actually Surfrider Beach. And the area that's behind that, which I'm going to talk about in a second, is an exclusive location. It's called Sierra Retreat, which is a very nice neighborhood.
But this is a cool little story. You remember Frederick and May Ringe, who originally owned everything. Well, they owned this little piece of land here. And the story goes like this. Their daughter was named Rhoda, and the manager of their entire ranch was named Grant Adamson. He had been the captain of the 1912 football team at USC, and then he got a job working as the ranch manager here. And one day, I think he fell off a horse and got really badly hurt and had to be nursed back to health. And the girl who nursed him back to health was Rhoda Ringe, and they fell in love, and as a wedding gift, Rhoda and Grant were given this house here, which still stands today. The family gave it to the state, so anybody can go there and visit. It's got extraordinary examples of the Malibu tile there. And as a little side note, one of Doug's current clients, named Grant Adamson, is a direct descendant of that family.
So right across the street then, we have this Baptist area called Sierra Retreat. It's one of the few gated communities in Malibu. There's only 2 or 3 gated communities, one of the one being Cavallari up the road, and there's other smaller ones. But for the most part, Malibu is a non-gated community. It's this particular neighborhood is very popular. There's a number of celebrities who live in here, and there's a lot of very nice homes. This is the monastery, the Sierra Retreat itself. This is a home that's on the market now. This is a Britney Spears home, and we remodeled it, and it's now owned by a movie director. This is another home of size in Malibu that you get this traditional style, and we'll talk a little bit more about style later. But you're getting homes about 10,000 square feet, very exclusive minimum acre properties. The other area that you could probably identify with Central Malibu is the Lumberyard and the Malibu Country Mart. And it's interesting because in locals speak, you know, they have all the fancy stores here, and they have the Tory Birches, and they have the rest of these stores. And the locals go, well, we don't want to shop there. But the Malibu locals need to realize that we are a town that also has to cater to the tourists. And the Coastal Commission is really keen on that. So we have to balance between locals shopping, and in this this case, tourist shopping. So on any given weekend, these places are packed. As we move across the street, go back to the Malibu Colony, which is the area just north of the Surfrider Beach. Again, those homes are older. We then have homes that are on Malibu Road. This particular home was designed originally by Marshall Lewis, and then Mark Burnett, the movie producer, retired us, and we redone this house. And actually, if you go to the interiors, we have this style, which is more called a Western style, which is a rustic modern style, which we integrate a lot of the barn beams and with the modern looks of the kitchens and opening all the windows and doors to the beach. And so it's interesting how you start a remodel. It starts out with one architect and ends with another, and really get different looks. We continue up the coast, and we would then get to an area which is mid-Malibu. Now, mid-Malibu is interesting because it's everything really from Pepperdine, which is the university here. Pepperdine is its own mini city. When Malibu became a city, they decided they didn't want to join in. They wanted to have, they're still part of LA County. They have their own sewer system, they have their own security, fire department, they have their own fire, they have everything to be self-contained, and they're really great neighbors. The athletic facilities are open for the public use, and they've been really, really great. Besides all the college kids going to bars, that works out perfect. As you get into Malibu, everything's along the coast. There's a number of homes that are in the canyons. These particular homes, this particular one was actually, there's some interesting things in the basement here. There's like a room that they created that has concrete walls, concrete ceilings, because of all the artifacts they wanted to create in case of a fire. And so a lot of the rooms that we built in the homes have our fire-safe rooms. Not safe rooms, but fire-safe rooms. Malibu itself is not just known for swimming and surfing with Kelly Slater. It's known for hiking, and it's also known for equestrian. So that you're within minutes, you have all of that. So it's like living in a park. It's fantastic. There's other neighborhoods. This is actually a sheriff's home that's on the coast. And it's interesting on these homes, before Malibu was a city, it was the county. The county could have unlimited square footage. Malibu is limited on the square footage now, but if you can find an old county home and you want to remodel it, then you can get grandfather. They can't take that square footage away, so you can keep it. So you do get occasionally these larger homes that you would have.
Holding on to Cher's home for a minute, you didn't really hear this, but we put together a compilation of music for the beginning of the show when everybody walked in. And it was all indigenous Malibu musicians, and I went through the list, and it was very surprising. Cher, Sting, Beck, and Pink are among the four. One syllable, one name. I don't know why. The Edge is trying to move into Malibu, but we don't know if we want to or not.
So this is an example of homeowner construction. There are occasional clients that will go through the lengthy process to get through the coastal commission. This took about 3 years to get through because it's on the beach. The extensive amount of money that goes into building the new footings that are actually on these wet beaches, you're spending multi-millions of dollars even before you start getting the home above the ground. So you are right on the beach. There's still spectacular locations, and these are very sought after projects that are still built today.
We were ballparking $100,000 per caisson for the foundations.
So now we move into an area which is one of the more attractive neighborhoods. As you get further west into Malibu, you still are getting into the more livable communities where most of the really residents live. This area of Point Dume and the area behind it, which is Malibu Park. Next to it is actually this area called Paradise Cove, which lately has been very proud of these summers. It's one of the only places where you can actually have a drink on the sand legally on the state beach. And you're next to all the trailer parks, and it's very, very popular. As you get further behind that area, we have a state-type property. This is actually in Winding Way. If you notice in the lower picture, we have a tennis court, which we did for the client. So this one has no lights, this one has lights. When Malibu became a city, Coastal said no more lights because of our night-sky ordinances. So any new house in Malibu has no lights. This is an example of the inside-outside feeling that most of the clients want us to do because you take advantage of the views, and it's just spectacular days.
So now here's all Point Dume. You can see PCH down here, PCH, which slices off this huge chunk of land here. There's about 800 homes in this area, including the mobile home parks here at Paradise Cove and here as well. All the beaches in California are open to the public, legally open to the public. There's no way anybody can stop anybody from being on the beach and walking in anywhere they want. But the access to these beaches is only through these little finger roads that go down like this, and you can restrict people there. We live, for instance, on Zoomer, which is here, and only the people that live on our road have to get through a gate, a locked gate, down to the beach right here. And that's what makes this so exclusive. The gates look like this. They have concertina wire on the top. They literally have armed guards there. And it can get pretty militant because people are that protective of their beach and especially of their uncrowded waves there. Here are a group of spoiled Malibu kids who have a beach key going down to the beach. And most realtors will tell you that having a deeded beach key to sell along with your house can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not $1 million and more. It's that special.
So just within Point Doom itself, there's many house styles. Actually, Malibu has no architectural review. So you can have modern homes, you can have traditional homes. This home is actually still on the market. It's actually what we did for High-End Dale, just showing more traditional style. There's other projects as you continue up the coast. This was a home that we had done, actually was another home for our family in Malibu Park. And as you get to these areas, you really get to more of a rural feeling. So it's more inside outside, and this was called the Red Barn farmhouse style. And the land itself around Malibu Park, they're equestrian style, equestrian lots, and it's very popular because of that really kind of country more feeling. When we get to this last section of Malibu, which you really get into more of the Malibu West and Trans Canyon area, you go to the next slide. This is actually a famous Zuma Beach. Zuma on any particular weekend, very crowded, 100 to 500,000 people on smelly weekends. Point Doom is at the end. Malibu Park is overlooking it. And then we anchored out on the other side, which is with Trancas. We're all familiar with Broad Beach. The area right behind this is Malibu West. It's a community that was developed in the 50s with kind of Eichler kind of case study houses. And it's a very popular neighborhood over Halloween. As we continue on to Broad Beach.
Well, let's talk about your
shopping center.
Yeah, that's project.
Shopping center, 50,000 square foot remodel shopping center. It's going to be very exciting. We're excited to know that it's going to have these barn style buildings because of the more rural nature of the area. It's 20 acres, so all the great new food services and restaurants. Actually, Starbucks is right there if anybody is familiar with that particular intersection. So the Broad Beach in itself, this picture was taken before Mother Nature had taken away the beach, was about 5 or 6 years ago. This is the picture now, Broad Beach, with all the sand actually taken.
Not so broad.
Exactly. But it's interesting on real estate, is that clients ask me all the time, says it's really taking away the appeal of Broad Beach. But a lot of my clients say, well, it used to be a promenade walking people coming down from Zuma, so you have less walking ability, so they're actually making it more private. So they're actually very private homes along Broad Beach. It does remind you because of the dune nature of them, kind of like in Nantucket. So very, very popular neighborhood.
And nonetheless, the residents here are putting together $20 million to import sand to replenish the beach. And they're going to go down to Manhattan Beach, offshore Manhattan Beach, dredge sand, bring it on barges, and put it in back here. We're taking their sand. Yeah.
So as you continue up the coast, this is actually another project we recently completed. Rich Shapiro, he's not here today. I wanted to thank him for this project. He's a local antique dealer and designer in town, and this was started out as a little one-story beach shack. Because of the Malibu remodeling rules, you had to supposedly keep 50% of the house. So we were proud of this house being done. It's actually featured in our Architectural Digest on the cover last year. As you continue up the coast, you have other estates as you get to more of the incidental bluffs areas, we call them. You have these large estates. This particular house, we did two next to each other. This house has a 6,000 square foot basement. So now the basement rules are that even though they restrict your square footage above the ground, you can have up to 1,000 square feet. And we had grandfathered this basement in from a previous approval. This is again showing the inside-outside feeling that you would have, anywhere where you're down by the coast. Another home that's on the market right now. We worked on this is more of a mixed style with the rocks and more custom look outside. And you go to the inside and you have that bifolding doors that open back into pockets, and you have this incredible inside-outside feeling. This is another great house. I know you guys are hungry. We finally get to our burger stand. Neptune's Net is the other anchor in Malibu. Once we get to that point, it's pretty much Mother Nature all the way down the coast. So Malibu in itself is really ends at County Line, Neptune's Net, and so pretty much you're on the way to Ventura after that.
Okay, now if we circle back around to Point Doom, in the foreground here is Big Doom. This entire area here is a state nature preserve. That's the reason nothing is built on it, and nothing ever will be built on it. So this is Big Doom. That's Little Doom back there. The surf breaks run all the way along here. When I saw the movie Iron Man, There was a helicopter shot, helicopter comes in over the water, you see some cliffs, you go up on the hill, you think you recognize it, but then there was a huge house on top of the cliff, and I didn't really understand how they could have done that at first until later I realized this is the way they made that movie. This is Tony Stark, aka Iron Man's house, and they with computer graphics, they did the artistic rendering, and they created the entire house inside and out with a computer. And here's a scene from that movie showing you.
Morning. It's 7 a.m. The weather in Malibu is 72 degrees with scattered clouds. The sun conditions are fair with waist to shoulder high lines. High tide will be expected.
Now, obviously, that house can never be built, but that one can. That's the one that Doug and I collaborated on there. And there's the real big room with no Tony Stark Iron Man house. And this is our Birdview project here.
So 5 years ago, a client of ours bought this property, which was basically, I don't know what style this was, incredibly Moroccan, Tunisian, Malibu. It was a disaster. Malibu, they allowed you to call it the remodel, and the reason it was because it was a brand new house, we'd have to be pushed further back from the block. So we had a grandfather in this location, keeping the house. So the house today obviously had nothing to do with this. I don't know if our client would have bought this home, but our current client, but the developer certainly did. So we had to tear it down, but we only had to do it in a piecemeal fashion. It was a very complicated project. We just went in with multiple permits, and everyone in my office was fighting with the city all the time and going through, and you just had to figure out how to do this. But the greatest thing about this was that eventually we had to build it. We could design it, get the permits. So it was actually, then my client is when he met Michael McDonnell, who happened to be a filmmaker at the time, and he co-produced this project. And Michael, coincidentally, happened to be actually one of our first clients in Malibu as we did their family home right now, so which was exciting. A little bit about Michael. Okay, Michael grew up on the East Coast. Beautiful picture. I don't know the name of the tree, but it was very popular. And Michael's brothers and sisters growing up on the East Coast during his high school summers, he apprenticed for a cabinet maker where he learned all the crafts of learning how to build. He actually built a sailboat from, they had actually sailed it from Maine to New Zealand, working as everything on the boat, like you have to do in a house, from the shipwright, the sailmaker, the rigger, the plumber, the mechanic, you name it. Then he came to Hollywood, starting at the bottom of production assistant. His first job was writing a certain 17-year-old aspiring actor who we recognized to and from the set. He became fascinated with the craft of filmmaking. Michael went on to produce feature films for over 20 years. A career highlight was sitting in the audience, not me, at the Oscars watching the movie he had made, The Usual Suspects, win 2 Academy Awards. 4 years ago, Michael was, as they say, in between jobs, in between films. So when my client approached him with an offer to be the managing partner of the Birdview project.
Well, this is Doug's line, but you might wonder why a movie producer would be brought into a building project. Well,
You might wonder why a movie producer would be brought into
as Brett mentioned in his introduction, there are a million parallels. They're surprisingly similar constructs, making a movie and building a house. Every one is one of a kind. You never, we're not doing condos here, but you never do the same thing twice. Every project first has to be imagined. It's somebody's idea, it's somebody's dream. Then it needs to be drawn on paper first and then put into computers and then actually realized. It has to be made real. The budget ranges are the same. We work between $1 million and $50 million on these. Each takes several years from beginning to completion to finish. And they're both enormously collaborative mediums. Nobody can just go and do it themselves. You end up hiring 100 key people, whether you're making a movie or building a house.
So there's a very interesting parallel when you're building a house and running a movie. And you have the starting out, you have your producers, which I don't know who this guy is. And then you have the happy homeowners, which are so joyous in their project, which are going to produce something really great. And then you have the movie genres, and the genres are anything from your drama, action, horror, to comedies. And then you have your house house styles. And house styles are obviously anywhere from traditional to craftsman to Tudor to modern. But they all have something in common. They have a disaster movie and a disaster home. Now, I didn't design that home, right? It's interesting. Business in the front, party in the back. So
It's the mullet.
yes, that was really from the website when you found it. So in both cases, we enforce the realities of schedules and budgets.
This is Quentin, he's the writer.
That's right.
Right. Okay,
So he's the writer.
and he is this next one?
Oh, that's yours.
Yes.
So we all start out with a blank page in pencil, letters from text, and there we are with the blank page in paper. They produce a screenplay, and we produce the plays. In both cases, we have the unfortunate realities of schedules. There it is, the screen picture.
And this, Christine was saying, this is Edward Munch. This painting was stolen at one time from a museum, and it was recovered, and then recently sold for $120 million. So maybe we're all in our own business. I don't know. Now, only in movies do we have directors. The director is entrusted with carrying the entire expression of the film with himself, and we don't really do that when we're making movies. Also, when we're building houses. And also, something we don't have are actors when we're making houses, unless we're building a house for an actor. I'm sure you've done some of that as well. This is interesting to me in terms of these corollaries that we're talking about. Orson Welles described the job of the director as presiding over the accidents. He was one of the most meticulous filmmakers, but when something went wrong, he really paid attention because that could be the real special magic. This is a room in our Birdview project. It was created by accident. At the 11th hour, the Coastal Commission came back and told Doug that he couldn't have the 500 feet that he was trying to squeeze into the guest house that he told us we were going to be able to have. Instead of just taking that 500 square foot permittable space away out of the project, he figured out a way to create an entire new room in the house. And it's this room here, which many people feel when they walk through the house, is one of the most beautiful rooms in the house. So accidents happen in both, and they can be some of the best things that happen. This is my own little personal corollary. When you make a movie, my favorite part of it is when you actually add music. Everybody knows what that means, and it's iconic and it's evocative, but it's way more evocative than this. Here's a house devoid of landscaping, and that's the same house with landscaping. It lives and breathes only when it's that touch of it.
So the other parallels you have, interesting, you have your line producers, your contractors, your groups, and your framers, and painters are basically the same. Then you have your temporary sets that in our business you definitely have more permanent structure. Hopefully it's torn down too soon.
When we make movies, we have remakes. This is an example of a failed remake. Here in the building business is an example of a failed remodel. Here's an example of a very successful remake. A lot of people felt that Part 2 was even better than the original. And here is the Birdview house that Doug designed and I built, a very successful remodel. Now, the first thing that I did when I was asked to join this project was to apply filmmaking discipline to home building. I didn't understand how we can schedule and budget a movie, which is kind of a crazy, complex, artistic expression, with far more certainty and accuracy than we can schedule and budget apps. Didn't understand that. Still don't 100% understand it, but I know now that there's quite a few reasons for that, all of which on the Birdview project we challenged. Two of the most important reasons are these. One is that a general contractor typically has several projects going on at once. So you've got all your crews swarming over this. If some other project he's got going is going to spend more money than you are, that contractor is going to take the crews off of here and shove them over somewhere else, and you're not going to get the attention you need. The other reason is that a general contractor's deal with the homeowner usually puts them at odds with the homeowner. General contractor is motivated to get it done quickly and cheaply. The homeowner wants it done, take as long as possible and have the very highest quality. So in order to achieve the level of quality that we aspire to here with Birdview, which is the very highest level of quality in the business, and in order to do that, for a per square foot price, that was probably about half of what anybody else in Malibu would have charged. You have to be dedicated to that one job, and only that one job, 24/7, which I was. And even more important, you have to be on the same side of the fence as the owner in terms of quality and cost, which I also was because I was one of the partners, not just the builder. Birdview turned out to be a great success. Design, execution, finish, marketing. It certainly helped that we had an extraordinary team. My partners, Danny and Jack, the brilliant Doug Burdge, and his entire office, many of whom are here today also. As many of you know, the job of architect goes far beyond designing beautiful buildings. You've got to get the plans through the city and then through the Coastal Commission. And no one, and I mean no one, is more adept at pushing the envelope, working outside the box, taking on a seat, than Doug Burdge and his staff.
Excellent. After we finished Birdview, the city of Malibu scrambled to close a lot of the loopholes into code that were never existed, but that our office took full legal advantage of. Interior designer was Tim Clark, and Tim's influence and vision was far beyond decorating. Tim actually has a new book that just came out, and we worked in close collaboration with him. As we got to the outside and the exterior, it's actually a great job with the work. Jay Griffith, who's also known in West Side as a landscape architect. Jay had an incomparable eye for us. Indigenous California Gardens, and he played an integral role in designing this project with us.
And we put Birdview on the market. Well, we're still emerging from this gnarly recession we've been through. And we sold it in April. And the realtors in Malibu were exhilarated because many felt it signaled the market waking up again. And we're actually very pleased to have the new owners of Birdview in the audience with us today. Thank you, Jens, for joining us.
So in closing, what makes Malibu so special? No one lost their cars in Malibu, or their houses, it seems. They have great public schools. Malibu schools are top 200 in the country. Yeah, we have our movie stars, but the locals are awesome too. We love to live there. Its proximity to Los Angeles, it's close, laid back and vibrant, acreage, large lots, homes, and within nature, close to the beach and close to the mountains. Small town feeling, only 13,000. Clean air and clean water. You can live your vacation, which is great. Resort living year-round.
And so what brought Chumash to Malibu thousands of years ago? The same thing that brought Frederick and May Ringe to Malibu, the same thing that brought the movie stars and the surfers, and the same thing really that brought me and Doug. It's the oceans, it's the mountains, the openness and the privacy, and the sheer physical beauty. People often tell us that they think that we live in paradise.
Yeah, we think it's true.
Thank you
Thank you very much.